So I've just been to a concert at the Yoko Ono auditorium there, and absolutely amazing. It was, we heard 6 pieces of music, 3 classical, 3 contemporary. One was written by Schubert hundreds of years ago. The other was written by a local band, Stealing Sheep, about 3 months ago. But the other 4 were written by AI, were written by machines, by artificial intelligence. And the human songs, I thought, yeah, they were written by a human. Two of the 4 songs I thought maybe written by a human, I'm not sure, maybe. One of them probably not. But there was 2 that were just indistinguishable. I would have completely been fooled by them. I had no idea. And then they discussed, I recorded it, if you want a recording let me know. Then they discussed about the copyright. You know, who owns the copyright on a song that's been composed by a machine? You know, is it the person who owns the machine? Is it the person who started the machine running? Is it the person who designed the machine? Is it the person who sold the machine to the... But, you know, you don't know. So the 4 songs that were so 2 of the songs were inspired by Schubert, so that's out of copyright, so that's copyright free, and 2 were inspired by Stealing Sheep, so and performed by them as well, by the way. And they're not the original was not copyright free. It was heavily copyrighted. So they're going to, the next step they're going to do after this performance, now that they performed them live, they've been performed to an audience, they can now contact PRS and register them as songs, you know. And once they've done that, they're then going to put them up on Spotify and start generating income from them, from Spotify. And the situation is, when they fill in the PRS forms, the Performing Rights Society forms, they're going to be asked who wrote this, and they're going to say no one. You know, it's a AI. You know, it's an artificial intelligence. And to see what, you know, is their response. And if they say, well, we're not going to, that doesn't fly, it's not music, they're going to put it on Spotify anyway and start generating revenue. And when Spotify say, who are we paying this to? Well, they'll say, well, you know, you have to ask PRS about that, because of, you know, and if PRS do, as I suspect they do, assign it some sort of, you know, recognition, and if they say it's an AI, then Spotify are going to have to pay. What are they going to pay a machine that doesn't have a bank account and cannot have a bank account? It's going to throw all kinds of questions in the air about, you know, what is real, what isn't, what is, you know. But I think that's for the long term, and it's going to be very, very, very interesting. But what was, in the short term, what was stunning was the fact that the songs were all, you could have performed this, each song got a round of applause, by the way, and you could have played those songs anywhere, and on the radio or whatever, or performed them live or something, and no one would have complained. And as I say, 2 of them would totally fooled me, totally indistinguishable. In fact, 2 of them I preferred the two I thought were indistinguishable, I thought were better than the human written ones, to be honest. And when one of those writers is Schubert, who's supposed to be a genius, you know, I mean, what the hell is happening, you know? It's really amazing. And then, so I got a new haircut the other day, still settling down. So, you know, it just raises so many questions. And also they said that Beethoven's 10th symphony that he never got a chance to make has been written by AI based on his earlier work, his interests, and little snippets of songs, notation that he left behind that could have been possibly for the 10th symphony. Books have been written and everything, you know. So presumably there'll be a book in the bestseller list at some point that was written by a machine, you know. It's quite astonishing, you know, that it's got to this. Just amazing that it's got to this. And what does this mean? What's the end result of all this? You know, we're in a situation where no human can beat even the most fairly basic chess computers around, fairly available, fairly inexpensive chess computers. No human can beat them. So we're going to be in a situation where no human author can write a better or more successful song. Can I go around that way, or? Cheers, mate, cheers. So are we in a situation where no one can compete with writing a thing, writing a script, writing a book, writing a piece of music, performing a piece of music, you know? Certainly in the next 2 to 5 years, easily, you'll be able to have you'll be able to pick who you want to sing your song. I want Elvis Presley to sing my song that I've just written, and it would do that for you, you know. Last night, I was watching a YouTube video. A guy was saying, look, it was called The Budget Guitar Show. And it's just this guy who's making this podcast, and but a visual podcast. He's putting it out, you know, there's an audio and a visual, an audio one. And I was on YouTube, and he said, look, I had a good friend who had his own channel podcast, you know, sort of. It was called Chinese Guitar Skeptic, that was it. And he had motor neurone disease, and he passed away. And I'm vaguely aware of, and he was very sad, and I was vaguely aware of Chinese Guitar Skeptic, and a bit more familiar with the budget guitar show I was watching. But I went on Chinese Guitar Skeptic just to sort of leave my condolences, you know, it's not nice. And the last thing that was up there was a piece of footage from 4 months ago where the presenter of the show is sitting there quietly smiling with his hat on and shades, and next to him is a friend, and the friend says, look, I think his name was Mike here wants to explain something about the show, the podcast, how it's going to change because of, and to give you an update on his health, you know. And here is, please listen to this. And the two of them are sitting there, and he presses a button on an iPad, and the voice starts speaking, and it's like, hi, this is Mike, you know, blah blah blah, I've had an operation to means I can never talk again, I've removed my voice box and everything like that. And up until him saying that, I was convinced I was hearing a recording of him. You know, he must have had a sore throat now, but he knew he was getting a bit poorly, so he recorded himself saying this, but it wasn't. And he explains further in the quote-unquote recording, which of course isn't a recording. My friend here who's holding this iPad, he knows a bit more about computers than I do, so he's given me a voice. It sounds natural and normal and doesn't sound like some kind of robot or Dalek or whatever, ha ha ha. And it was just perfect, the inflections and everything. It was just right. And it was quite stunning. So I had that last night thinking, so yeah, it's sad that the man has passed away and everything, but the way he's announcing the extent of his illness just before passing on his last video, his voice is just as clear as in earlier videos. It just sounds like the same guy. You know, that voice rang you up and had a conversation with you. You'd think, well, that's probably real. Then today, I go to this concert and get my mind blown with the musicianship, and just amazing, you know. And then, as I say, the band is a local band. It's one I'm familiar with, so I kind of like this. Wow, I would never have thought that. So that was indistinguishable. And maybe about 5 days a week before that, I was watching the news on TV, and they were saying, well, people are scams, you know, what should we look out for with scams? And it was the usual, you know, don't use the same password for everything. This is the same old common sense things. And then they said, have a secret word between you and your loved ones that only you will all know. Because if your loved one rings you up, have something that you secretly say in the conversation. You know, secretly say in the conversation. Like, oh, hiya, Dad, you know, how's Bruno the dog doing since he came back from the vets? And the dad knows that Bruno, they haven't got a dog, and it's not called Bruno even if they did. And so obviously they didn't go to the vets. And if the dad replies back on the phone, oh, he's picking up, you know, fingers crossed or something, then you know you're talking to an AI, a bot. You know, and this is, I think, in 5 or 10 years' time, I think someone may listen to this recording I'm making now and just laugh at how archaic it seems and sounds. But right now, coming from that concert, I mean, it was a free concert, but had they charged money, who would get that money, you know? It's not Schubert, who's a real person, was a real person. Not Schubert's family, who are still alive, probably, almost certainly. And maybe a little bit would go to stealing sheep, fair enough. But that only accounts for what, one song?